So, Foo, I know where Hal Jordan lives.
Oh,
No, in a greenhouse.
oh no.
Thanks for stopping by Comic Book Editions Volume 137. Today I have AOKs from ComicFoo2814 and NX7062 to share with you. I'm glad that you're here. As you can tell from the intro, I had the chance to meet ComicFoo2814. This past Friday, I traveled to Madison, Wisconsin. Foo was up in the area, so I met up with him and we hit up or terrorized as many comic book sellers in the city as we could. I had such a great time hanging out with him. It didn't feel like the first time that we had ever met. It felt like, we had hung out hundreds of times before. Although, we have done Fanboys Live in the Retro Review before. I also don't know if you remember this or not, because I have talked about it, but ComicFoo was one of maybe about 3 YouTubers that I used to watch before I started getting into the community, but watching his channel kind of made me think maybe I want to get into being a part of the YouTube comic book community. So I'm so thankful for that because my life has been so much better with having you guys in it. And I can't wait to meet more community members. But Dave, ComicFoo, thank you so much for your time. Thanks for wanting to spend time with me. I enjoyed meeting you. I enjoyed meeting your kids, which I've nicknamed Son of a Foos. And I can't wait till we get the chance to do it again. So Foo surprised me. He AOK'd me. I brought some stuff for him too, but he okayed me. And the first thing I want to show you is this. It's the famous first edition C30. This is a complete reprint of Sensation Comics #1, just in the oversized Treasury format. Now, this is a book, Foog said, I bet you probably have this book already, which I did, but I didn't have it in this nice of a condition. So this is definitely a condition upgrade for me, and I'm so happy to have a nicer copy of this. First of all, I've said this too many times, how much I love the Treasury editions, because in this big size, they just feel extra special to me. And that's awesome. I love that this is the entire first appearance, well, it's the first cover appearance of Wonder Woman, but it's the entire Sensation Comics issue in its entirety reprinted in the story. So I just love that. And I was so happy, and I thought that was awesome that Foo thought of me and wanted to get another copy. Now, when Foo was making his trip, he had the chance to stop by and see Tim the comic collector. And I think that when he was with Tim at Tim's shop, which I think was St. Louis Comics, if I remember correctly, this is where he found it at. So thank you so much for thinking of me. That was awesome. It definitely was a great fit. And I'm happy to have a nicer copy in my collection because this is much nicer. Maybe one of the first times in my life that I ever read Sensation Comics #1 was in my original childhood copy of this that I bought as a back issue. I remember at my local comic shop growing up, which was an hour away, because I grew up in this little tiny small town that didn't even have fast food or stoplights, still doesn't. And the nearest major city was in another state an hour away. So when I'd get to go to a comic book store, I do remember in this box on the floor, he had a whole bunch of treasuries and they were just $1 each. And I dig through those and usually come out with a treasury pretty often when I got the chance to go visit the comic store. So this brought back a lot of great memories for me. And then, oh man, that Foo is a tricky one. Look at this. So I was with him in the store that he bought this at, and I didn't see him buy this. I pointed it out. It was a wall book. I pointed out, I'm like, oh, look at that. And I started talking about the Peter Parker Spectacular Spider Run, which if you've been watching, I've been doing these Spectacular Spider Haul videos on my channel. And this is one that I didn't have. And I looked at it, and I was just making conversation and telling Foo how much I have enjoyed reading this era of books and how I'm glad that I didn't end up missing out on these because there's some great stories. I looked at it and I didn't say this to him, but in my mind, I thought, okay, I know it's here. There's a comic show coming up in a couple weeks. My intention was to try to maybe look for this at that comic show that I'm going to go to Easter weekend. And I honestly did not see him buy this. I didn't see any of his kids buy it. Last time that I looked at this when he was checking out, it was still up on the wall. I don't know how he pulled this one off, but he did. That was awesome. Thank you so much. I was shocked. I mean, no, first of all, no one has to get me anything, but I've never read this story too. This is, I'm sure you probably know this, second appearance. It's tied for second appearance of the Black Suit Spider-Man. So it's a Black Cat, mostly a Black Cat solo story, I think. Like I said, I haven't read it yet, but I believe she's looking for Spider-Man in this issue. So it's mostly a Black Cat story. I can't believe I didn't buy this issue, you know, when it was originally out too. I don't know what was going on at that time in my life or what was going on finance-wise, because this seems to have every check mark in a box for a comic book that I would want to own. And now I finally do. Plus, I'm kind of getting to the point where I'm reading some of the, I'm reading my Spectacular Spider-Man issues. And I think the next one, I'm in the 80s right now, and I think it's like 88 is the next one I have to read. So this is issue 90. And I'll be able to continue on in sequence then. So timing's perfect on this one. Thank you, Foo, for these 2 items. Thanks for lunch, too. But mostly for being a great friend and hanging out with me, too. So can't wait to do it again. While I was with Foo, I want to show you a couple of the books that I picked up at Half Price Books. I haven't had the chance to read back and forth these yet, but I'm going to. So I saw this Marvel 2-in-1, which is issue number 7, and it's Thing teaming up with Valkyrie. This is now the oldest Marvel team-up comic book in my collection, and I thought, for $3, this is a no-brainer. I think I need to have this. If I'm remembering correctly, I think this story is going to continue into Defenders issue number 20, which I don't have yet. Eventually I'm going to want to start filling in a lot of my Defenders Volume 1 comic books that I don't have. A good majority of them, maybe not so much, the first 10 to 20 issues, but after that, you can get those books, fairly cheap. You can find nice copies of them in dollar bins too. So that's something I want to work on somewhere down the road. And like I said, I've got this convention coming. I shouldn't call it a convention. I call it more a comic show because there's not celebrities, there's not panels or anything like that, but it's just a bunch of dealers set up. But this comic show is coming up, and maybe I'll see if they have some Defenders around there and I can try to fill some more in. But that's something I do want to work on. There's so many runs that I'm trying to work on right now. I'm close on my Silver Age Teen Titans. I want to keep working on my Justice League. I want to work on my Adventure Comics with Supergirl. And there's another Batman-related one that I'm working on too that I'll talk about in the future here on my channel. But Defenders, eventually, after I check mark maybe 1 or 2 more that I just mentioned, I'll start working on Defenders. Found a Wonder Woman I didn't have. Of course, I have Wonder Woman Rebirth number 1, but this is the second printing. Back at that time, I was kind of like, second printings or third printing, whatever, and I don't need that. When you're an old school collector like me, second and third printings were really thought of as not much. Of course, that's changed because, now they're more sought after because a lot of people don't buy the second or third printings. That makes them more desirable. You can tell it's a second printing instantly by the color change right up here. So when I saw it and I said, you know what, I have $1.50 in my budget to be able to buy this. So I did pick it up. Here's a book, nostalgia-wise, that I didn't pass up. So it's Action Comics number 463. And this book I already have. This is an upgraded copy. Definitely a huge upgraded copy for me because the original that I have since I was a childhood collector either came from a garage sale or someone gave it to me or gave it to my family to give to me because they knew I loved comic books. It has the top trade dress, the title of it, ripped off, which is what they used to do. So stores, if they couldn't sell a copy, they would rip off the title and just send that portion back because it's much cheaper than mailing the entire book back. And then they could do with, they're supposed to throw them away, the remainder of them. But of course, that didn't happen a lot of times. People gave them to kids or that they had or relatives or garage sales or whatever. For the longest time, this was my second oldest Action comic books in my collection. Now it's my second oldest. The one that I have is just a few issues earlier than this, though, so it's not that much older. But when I saw this and it was in great condition, wasn't going to pass this one up. Another one, a pretty similar story here, is this Action Comics, 488. So Mine wasn't ripped off at the top, but it's one that I've had since I was a childhood collector. And my copy is pretty beaten up. I mean, it has a lot of wear and tear in there. So this is a nice copy, wasn't expensive at all. I haven't opened this yet, but I don't remember much of this story. Whereas, jumping back here really quickly, I remember that this is about Clark Kent thinking that he worked for a newspaper in 1776 for Benjamin Franklin. This story, I don't remember much about. What I do seem to remember more of is actually Airwave. So I haven't opened this up yet, but I'm thinking a lot of the artwork is going to come flooding back to me once I start going through the story again, and I'm looking forward to doing that. So those were the books that I picked up this past Friday, my acquisitions from this past Friday, except for a few new books that I picked up at my LCS when I was with ComicFoo too. And I just wanted to share those with you today. So let me move on to NX7062. I put a link in the description for my video to her channel because she did me a huge favor. A lot of folks have been talking about Ollie's and that you can get these omnibuses so cheap at Ollie's. Of course, I don't have an Ollie's by me. NX7062 said, I'll go to Ollie's for you. She had never heard of the store. And she's like, I'll go to Ollie's for you. And she was nice enough to do it. She videoed me from the store. And I was looking for some stuff. And she went and I didn't really find what I wanted. And then she said, you know what? The next one, it looks like it's 20 minutes away. I'll just go over there for you. Thank you for doing that. And she found me an omnibus that I wanted. So here we go. It's the Wonder Woman War of the Gods Omnibus. Now this sells for, what's the MSR on this? $100. Ollie's selling this for $30. Yeah. We retro reviewed the War of the Gods miniseries once on Fanboys Live in the retro review. And I want to say that I just really want to state this pretty honestly. The artwork in this is fantastic. I mean, George Perez doesn't skimp at all. The story was hard to follow. There's a lot of crossovers that if you're not reading those crossover issues, when you go from War of the Gods issue 1 into issue 2, so much has changed with the characters or where they're at. Same thing when you go from issue 2 to 3 and 3 to 4. War of the Gods was supposed to be done in celebration for Wonder Woman's 50th anniversary at DC Comics. And it was the first major crossover starring Wonder Woman. It's the story that George Perez wanted to tell when he took on the Wonder Woman project. He was only going to do Wonder Woman originally for 6 issues and then got so into the character. But this was his original idea to come and do on Wonder Woman, and it ended up being the last thing he did for DC Comics or for Wonder Woman before he left because he was so frustrated with how DC handled War of the Gods that it just kind of made him leave the company. But having the omnibus that has all of these tie-ins, I think is going to be, I want to give this story another shot and read it all the way through with all of the tie-ins because I think it's going to make more sense. If it doesn't and I don't enjoy it, I still got the fantastic artwork, which I do enjoy for sure. I'm not investing the full MSR on this. $30, you can't beat that. So NX7062 also found me another omnibus. Swinging 60s there. Wonder Woman. Diana Prince celebrating the 60s omnibus. This is the mod era Diana Prince when she was powerless, and it reprints all of those issues plus a few guest appearances she made in Brave and the Bold and World's Finest. Of course, I have all of these issues, but I wanted them again. Which is funny because I have the softcover trades of these too. It's just hard for me to resist this, and it's getting harder and harder for me to resist omnibuses, period. But I really wanted this, and I do like this nice J. Scott Campbell artwork here. Then this is a reprint from a trade ad that they used to promote the changes coming to Wonder Woman and the mod era. So as a kid, I'm too young for the original printings of the non-powered. I mean, that all happened before I was born. But as a kid buying some back issues, and I was aware of this period of Wonder Woman, and I bought some, and I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all as a kid. And I bought a few more, and I just didn't like them. I didn't like them. When I was an adult, I went back and started rereading these stories, and there's some of them I liked. Actually, I ended up liking a lot of them more than I expected to. There's a couple clunkers in there too, but Denny O'Neil wrote a lot of these stories, and actually, I don't think someone asked Denny O'Neil once if there was anything he would redo or anything he wasn't proud of that he had done, and I think he said it was his time on Wonder Woman. I think he was being a little hard on himself personally, but I look back on this with a lot more fondness than I remember. I still remember as a kid, though, thinking, why doesn't, she's now empowered. How about they do an issue where she puts the costume back on and she has to fight, one of her arch enemies, even though she doesn't have her powers? Of course, that completely goes against what they were trying to do. They were, of course they, as an adult, I see the marketing and the logic behind not doing that. But as a kid, reading those old books as back issues, that's what I wanted to see. I guess I just wanted the costume back. So, and I think there were people in DC that really wanted the costume back, because when you look at the JLA, JSA team-ups from that time period, they're putting the costume Wonder Woman in those as a JSA member. So she still, at least there was a little representation for the costume Wonder Woman. And of course, to make a long story wrap up a little bit faster, the reason she got back to being a costumed superheroine was largely in part to Gloria Steinem. And Wonder Woman was on the cover of the very first Ms. magazine. But even though I have multiple ways to enjoy this, from the originals to the softcover trades to reading it digitally, I have the Omni too, because I couldn't resist this. $35. So $30, $35, even with NX7062 shipping these to me, I still came out so far ahead from the original price. I still wish there was an Ollie's closer to me, though. Oh, I have a list of more omnibuses I just want. I'm just trying to behave myself. So I thought I was kind of done with the omnibus game. And then, apparently I wasn't. Wonder Woman, the Silver Age Omnibus, Volume 1. So this reprints Wonder Woman 98 through 120, what is it? 125. I have all of these books. Plus, they're available digitally. Why did I buy this? I don't know, but I know why. Because I got such a great deal on it, and because I'm just having a hard time saying no to omnibuses right now. Got this one off of Amazon, and they had a $10 off coupon, which don't remember seeing them have before on an omnibus. So I applied that, plus I already had a gift card, and that really took the price down to like $35 for me. So I said, to heck with it, I'm ordering it, and was able to add it to my collection. One thing that I do, even though I just got done saying, I like the original cover that J. Scott Campbell did for the Diana Prince Omnibus, I do like it a little bit better when they take an actual cover or actual artwork from an issue and use that as the main cover to represent that. I like that a little bit better myself. Now, to get the complete Silver Age in omnibus form, the Diana Prince one that you just saw would be the end, and this would be the beginning. So they would probably need to do 2 Silver Age omnibuses in between to have the complete Silver Age era. We do know that DC Comics is not very good at finishing out projects that they start. I would love to see it happen, but I'm not going to hold my breath. I'd really love to see some Bronze Age omnibuses happen on Wonder Woman, but we'll see. I mean, there's some great Bronze Age issues that aren't even available digitally on the DC app, so I don't know. So the next Wonder Woman Omnibus is a Golden Age one. It's Volume 5, and that's coming out this upcoming October, and I've already started saving for it. I'm just going to try to get it shortly. Either I'm going to try to pre-order it and get it at a really good pre-order price, or get it shortly after it comes out, so I don't have to worry about it going out of print, because that's when they really start jumping in price or becoming harder to find. So thank you, NX7062. If you're a Star Trek fan, that's mostly what she talks about on her channel, but she does geek out a little bit and talk about other things as well. But she did such a great favor for me by going to Ollie's and getting me those first 2 omnibuses that I showed you. If you could do me a favor back and subscribe to her channel, I know that she would appreciate it too. And stop in sometime for one of her Monday Night Lives. I've left the link for her channel in the description for this video. I've also left the link for ComicFoo2814 in the description for this video, so sub him up as well. Doesn't he have like 14,000 subscribers or something like that? I think someone told me he had 14,000. Maybe that number's off, but I think it's 14,000. Could be. But subscribe to them as well. If you're not subscribed to my channel, this is a great time to do that. Leave me a comment below. Let me know what you think of the things that I talked about or shared with you today in our video. We can dialogue about all of this and more in the comment section below. Your comments are welcomed, encouraged, and appreciated. Thank you again for making it to the end of my comic book editions video, and I look forward to seeing you next week again here on my channel. Don't miss out on Fanboys Live and the Retro Review coming up this Sunday. And of course, there's the back issue of the week, Short, which dropped this past Monday on my channel as well. So check that out too. I'll catch you soon. Take care.